Hello everyone. On April 28, 1988, just after 1 p.m., Aloha Airlines Flight 243 prepared for departure in Hawaii. It was a bright, sunny afternoon, and most passengers were heading off to enjoy their vacations. Hawaii is a chain of stunning islands in the Pacific belonging to the United States. Its capital city is Honolulu. This particular flight was a short hop, just 35 minutes, connecting Hilo, the southernmost island, with Honolulu. Nothing unusual at all. Aloha Airlines was known for operating frequent inter-island flights. Because these journeys were short, aircraft often made several trips daily. On this day, the Boeing 737 assigned to Flight 243 had already flown 8 legs, 3 full round trips since morning. For the airline, this was completely routine. At 1:25 p.m., passengers were seated, doors closed, and Flight 243 took off. A missed warning. But there was a small detail nobody paid much attention to. While boarding, one passenger noticed a hairline crack in the aircraft's fuselage near the riveted panels. She dismissed it, assuming the airline maintained its planes well. After all, Aloha Airlines had a strong reputation. No one imagined how dangerous that tiny crack would turn out to be. About 10 minutes into the flight, attendants began serving drinks. The seatbelt sign remained on, since the plane hadn't yet reached its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet. At exactly that altitude, 20 minutes after takeoff, disaster struck. Explosion at 24,000 feet. A thunderous boom shook the cabin. The aircraft had suffered an explosive decompression. Passengers gasped for breath as debris flew across the cabin. When some looked up, they saw the unthinkable. The roof and part of the fuselage were gone. Above them was nothing but open sky. Within seconds, nearly 35 square meters of the aircraft's skin had torn away. Normally, aircraft cabins are pressurized to allow passengers to breathe comfortably at high altitude. But with the roof ripped open, pressure vanished instantly. Oxygen masks should have dropped, but the system was destroyed along with the roof. Passengers soon suffered from hypoxia, caused by lack of oxygen, bringing dizziness, confusion, and even unconsciousness within minutes. To make matters worse, icy winds roared through the cabin at almost 500 kilometers per hour. The outside temperature was minus 45 degrees Celsius. Passengers, in nothing but shorts and t-shirts, were completely exposed. The cabin crew. There were 3 flight attendants on board. Michelle Honda, near row 15, tried calling the cockpit but got no response. Clarabelle C.B. Lansing, serving drinks near row 5, was instantly sucked out of the aircraft and lost forever. Jane Sato, stationed near row 2, was knocked unconscious by flying luggage. Despite the chaos, Michelle kept moving through the cabin, urging passengers to stay calm and searching desperately for solutions. At one point, she even asked if anyone knew how to fly the plane, fueling panic among passengers who feared the pilots might be gone. Inside the cockpit. Fortunately, the pilots were still alive. Captain Robert Schornsteimer, 44, an experienced commander for Aloha Airlines. First Officer Mimi Tompkins, 36, serving as his co-pilot. When the fuselage tore open, they too felt the blast. The cockpit door had vanished and debris was everywhere, but their oxygen masks worked. The pilots immediately began an emergency descent, plunging at more than 4,000 feet per minute. Yet the situation was more fragile than anyone realized. The nose of the plane had sagged nearly a meter. The only thing holding the cockpit and cabin together was the floor. If that failed, the plane could have torn apart in mid-air. Realizing Honolulu was too far, air traffic control directed them toward the closer island of Maui. Within just 3 minutes, the aircraft dropped to 14,000 feet, low enough for passengers to breathe again. The most immediate danger, hypoxia, was behind them. A desperate approach, but new challenges arose. The crew had to steer around Haleakala, a massive 10,000-foot volcano on Maui. Captain Schornsteimer slowed the aircraft to just 170 knots, the minimum speed that would keep it airborne, carefully guiding it toward the runway. As they neared the airport, First Officer Tompkins lowered the landing gear. The main wheels came down, but the nose gear failed. A belly landing was an option, but in the plane's fragile condition, it could have easily broken apart. On the ground, emergency teams were ready. Firefighters, ambulances, and rescue crews lined the runway, bracing for disaster. Then, a sliver of hope. Observers reported that the nose gear had actually deployed. One less catastrophe to fear. The miracle landing. At 1:58 p.m., just 13 minutes and 42 seconds after the explosion, Aloha Airlines Flight 243 touched down in Maui. The captain used every ounce of skill, along with brakes and engine thrust reversers, to bring the damaged jet safely to a stop. Emergency crews rushed in as passengers evacuated down the slides. Shaken but alive, many broke into applause for the pilots who had just saved their lives. Of the 95 people on board, only one life was lost, flight attendant C.B. Lansing, and tragically, her body was never recovered. Dozens of passengers were injured, especially those seated directly beneath the missing roof, but survival for the rest was nothing short of a miracle. What went wrong? Investigators later uncovered the cause: metal fatigue and corrosion. This particular aircraft had flown 89,680 cycles, far beyond Boeing's recommended lifespan. Each cycle of pressurization and depressurization weakened the fuselage. Over the years, tiny cracks formed around the lap joints where aluminum panels overlapped. Boeing had known since the 1970s that its early bonding methods had weaknesses. Service bulletins and warnings had been issued. By 1987, airlines were urged to inspect and repair older 737s. But Aloha Airlines failed to maintain this aircraft properly, and the FAA had not enforced stricter inspections. In the end, multiple small cracks linked together at cruising altitude, triggering the catastrophic blowout. The aftermath. The Flight 243 disaster reshaped aviation safety. The aging aircraft program was introduced, requiring rigorous inspections of older jets. Advanced testing methods, such as eddy current and ultrasonic scans, became mandatory to detect microscopic cracks invisible to the naked eye. Aircraft flying short, frequent routes were given stricter inspection schedules. In 1988, the US passed the Aviation Safety Research Act, reinforcing safety protocols. Thanks to these changes, an accident like Flight 243 is far less likely today. Conclusion. The survival of 94 people that day wasn't mere luck. It was the result of skilled pilots, the strength of the aircraft's design, and something as simple as seatbelts. Because the sign was still on, most passengers remained strapped in, which prevented many more fatalities. Though one life was tragically lost, countless others were saved. Flight 243 stands as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance, maintenance, and safety in aviation.